All right, 305, let's begin. First of all, thank you so very much for being a part of this little live video on Instagram while we're all stuck inside. Curfew යන්න තැන් නැහැ. තැන් තියෙනවා ඒත් අපිට යන්න බෑ. ඒකින්ද we're going to get into this small skill building video. With this, one of the things that I want to address is that lots of people don't know this, but back when I was about 21, 22 years old, it was really difficult for me to talk to people in the sense that මිනිස්සු තුන් දෙනෙකුට වඩා කතා කරන්නත් අමාරුයි because I start to hyperventilate, my palms get sweaty, and I completely freak out, right? So the point I'm trying to make is presentation is a skill. And that word skill is important because skill කියන දේ is improvable with practice. Like for example, when you were born, you didn't know how to drive, but then you learn the drive, you go to driving class or whatever, and then you learn to drive, right? So driving is a skill. If you practice a skill with time, obviously you're going to get good at it. So public speaking is a skill. And that's the most important part we need to focus on, right? Like as a skill, we can get better at it. Now, there are two mindsets, right? One mindset is that some people are great at public speaking and they have that gift. The other mindset is that, you're looking at yourself and you're thinking that you're shit at public speaking. And that, no matter how much I try, it's not going to be good enough, I'm not going to be good enough, and stuff like that, right? So, the overall core of this session is that we're going to be looking at where does that originate from, that real fear, where does it originate from, and how can you address that in a sense, right? So the first step, if you have a fear of public speaking, you need to identify where it comes from, and there are some main areas. Number one is your physiology. Some of us are anxious and nervous people by nature. අපි කොහොමදත් ඉන්නේ නිකන් wow, I'm like really nervous and I don't want to interact with people. I'm very introverted, and there are some of us like that, right? So if you're automatically anxious when you're in a public speaking setting, your body goes into this weird sort of battle ready stage, right? Where you're hyperventilating, and then you're like, I think Achinta had said, just like an Eminem song, knees weak, palms are sweaty. Hopefully you don't vomit somebody's spaghetti out. And during this entire process, your normal nervousness gets accentuated. That becomes double, triple, and then you get into this crazy level, right? That's one. Number two, the point is like your thoughts. Now, this is a killer for a lot of people because you start to see presentation or public speaking at work or at school or whatever as a performance. And as a performance, you're looking for audience approval. You're looking at it like a show. Like, I'm going to do this show. Will they accept me? Will they applaud? Will they think I did the performance well? The flip side of that thought is that it's not a performance, that it's just a communication, right? And if you look at your life, there have been more than enough instances where you've managed to communicate your ideas to someone else. So one is that performance mindset and the other is that communication mindset. Your thoughts get even worse because you think you're a bad speaker, you're going to get nervous, and the evidence you see is just supporting that. You're talking to an audience, and if one of them just happens to smile for some reason, in your mind, you make it seem like, shit man, this guy is laughing at me. And that guy is not laughing at you. That person is laughing at you, right? So now you need to see how you're going to look at this entire sequence of how you present, how you organize your thoughts in various situations. Now, there are some people who are comfortable in certain situations where it's their known crowd. But some people get nervous thinking about, shit man, there's going to be now 10 people or 20 people or 100 people or whatever, right? And in this situation, they start to think, I'm normally okay, but in this situation, I'm not. Or the type of audience members, they are like crazy important people or some shit like that, right? And finally, we get nervous because of the skills. You might think, I don't have the skills to modulate your voice, or I don't have the skills to project my voice, or I don't have the skills to exhibit proper body language. So whether you're normally anxious, that's your normal physiology, or whether you have these various thoughts coming into your head, like I need to do a performance, etc., or whether you're nervous about various situations, like this crowd, that crowd, this topic, that topic, or whether you think you don't have enough skills, from one of these situations, this sort of nervousness arises. Number one, it might be a combination of all these things, or it might not. But you need to figure out where this nervousness is coming for you. And today we will talk about 3 or 4 things that you can do in order to alleviate or get rid of this nervousness, right? So, number one, people tell you when you're doing a presentation to make eye contact and connect with the audience. Yes, you should do that. However, if you're nervous, it is not going to help you, right? So if I was doing a session for like a speaker who is at a certain level, I would say, yeah, of course, make eye contact, engage with the audience. But if I'm doing a session for someone who's like nervous about public speaking, the last thing I'm going to tell them is to connect with the audience. You shouldn't do that, because now you forget everything you have to say, and you're just going to be reading what's on people's face, and you're going to be reading shit that is not there. Okay, and that is not going to help in your presentation. So you need to have, number one, something to ground you. Now, grounding can be a person or an object. Okay, if we take a person, say you have like a really close trusted friend in the audience, you tell them before, hey, to get me grounded, I'm going to look at you, I'm going to make eye contact with you, and you're going to be the sole person that I'm looking at. Now, this person can't be a bloody jackass who's going to be like, okay, I'm just going to, make googly faces at you and make you laugh, or I'm going to throw you off track. It has to be a person who's absolutely trusted, right? So you look at this person as a neutral expression, and they're giving you that grounding, and you just forget everybody else. It doesn't matter how many people are there, just forget about them. Until you get comfortable, look at this one person and have yourself grounded. Connect with only this person. You're talking only to that person. Are we breaking some rules when it comes to public speaking by not engaging with the entire audience? Yes, but that's okay, because for a while you need your body to settle down, you need to get into a rhythm. Now, assuming there is no other person, to get you grounded, okay, what can you do? You look at an object. Now, objects can be various things. Just make sure it's an object in the audience, not an object on the stage or where you are talking. So, for example, the audience is in front of you, object can't be over there. We're looking at that and talking, right? The object needs to be something in the audience. So, a couple of things you can use. If there's a clock at the back of the hall, you can look at the clock and talk for a little while. If people are sitting on chairs, and you can look at a chair arm and talk for a little while. Or you can look at someone's watch, or you can look at someone has left a water bottle there. Just make sure that you're grounding yourself with a person or object in the audience. As you're getting ready for the presentation, it's good if you can identify your grounding object before you begin. Ideally, it should not be something that people will move around. Maybe something like a clock on the wall or something will help you. Okay? Number one, person or object to ground you. Because as you get there, your system is going to go into this battle mode, right? Yes, Ravin, if you don't trust anybody, it's great to look at an object. That's wonderful. So as your system is like, your heart rate's increased, your palms are sweaty, you need to give your system time to calm down. And that is, while you're delivering your speech, to focus on one thing that is not going to screw with you back in the head, right? That's number one. Number two, it's important to get a flow going, right? So a lot of the times with our presentations, we get very staggered, and we make this mistake of memorizing the bloody presentation. Do not memorize, because if you memorize, you're going to go there and you're going to be super conscious about trying to remember what you memorized. And then you're going to start recalling, in my notebook, I wrote this line here, under this line, what was there, and all of that shit, right? And that's not going to help you. See, with a presentation, ideally, you should know what you're talking about. That's why you're delivering the presentation. On some rare occasion, you've been pushed there because there was nobody else and you're the most junior, you couldn't say no or some shit like that. But ideally, you know what you're going to talk about. Okay, we'll get into the practice part later. You should have cues that you can use that will prompt you to the next level, right? Let me give you an example. So I used cues for this. So I needed to know uh, what I'm going to talk about. So I wrote these points down, right? So you can see here. So I said I'm going to talk about physiology, I'm going to talk about thoughts, I'm going to talk about situations, and I'm going to talk about skills. So it's just a word, right? The entire content is not there. If the entire content is there, then I need to be looking at that and trying to recall it. But I have this tiny piece of paper that fits in my hand like this, and I just have a word that will cue me for the next couple of sentences I have to say. Now I don't need to worry about remembering the 34th line or some shit like that, right? ඒක ගැන මම බලන්න ඕනේ නැහැ. මොකද in my mind මම දන්නවා what I'm supposed to say next based on the cue. So the cue is there to help me to say what I need to say, right? So in this situation, what you need to look at is to form a flow, have a cue that will help you to get into the next line of what you're supposed to say. This cue is a word. Example, let's take a simple topic, right? You're going to talk about yourself, myself, let's say. So instead of recalling, my name is Fahad Farouk, I went to this school, I live here, it's not that. So the first cue is name. So when you say name, you know you're supposed to say your name. Next, you can say live. So the next cue is live. So you know you're supposed to say where you live. The other side is you memorize this. My name is Fahad Farouk, I live here, I went to this school, these are my hobbies, etc. But instead of that, if you have a cue, all you need to do is quickly refer the paper, name, right? And then you say what comes naturally from that cue. Okay. So the first thing we talked about is to have something that grounds you, person or object. මොකක් හරි දෙයක් දිහා බලා ගන්න audience එකත් එක්ක engage වුනේ නැති වුණත් කමක් නැහැ, eye contact තිබ්බේ නැති වුණත් කමක් නැහැ. පුද්ගලයෙක්ව මොකක් හරි දෙයක් දිහා බලාගෙන make sure that you are giving your system a time to settle down. You're giving your heart rate a time to slow down, right? That is number one. Number two, you need to get into a flow or a rhythm. And for this, you can use various cue cards where only a word is there. වචනයක් විතරයි තියෙන්නේ. Based on that cue, you will say what you're supposed to say next, right? Next, this is the most important, well, second most important thing you're going to use, because I'm going to say the important one last, right? This is that you need to have a moment to moment visualization, right? I'll tell you what this is. Moment to moment visualization means from the moment you get to the destination to deliver your speech, or you get to office before your presentation, or whatever, you visualize every single step that's going to happen. Because your system is worrying, right? What if this happens? What if this happens? What if this doesn't work out that way? අපි ගොඩක් දේවල් හිතනවානේ. So in order to prevent that, you're going to replay this. You're going to give your system time to get familiar with what you're going to අපි කරන්න යන්නේ මොකද්ද? ඒකේ අපි flow එක අපි system එකව පුරුදු කරන්නයි යන්නේ. Okay? So in this, what do I mean? Let's say for example, I'm going to do a show. Let's say I'm doing an event at Stein Studios. Example, right? I will visualize parking my car, getting out of the car, walking to the gate, walking to the entrance, turning into the corridor, going inside, speaking to someone, greeting them, coming up to the stage, being aware of my surroundings, what epite මිනිස්සු ඉන්නවා, right? Then I'm taking the mic, මට පඩිපෙළ ටික පේනවා, I can see the stairs, I'm climbing up the stairs, I'm going to the stage, I'm holding the mic to my mouth, and I'm looking at the audience and what I'm going to say. So it's not about I'm going to get on stage and say this. එහෙම නෙමෙයි. Step by step visualization, right? When there are people like this, I will feel like this. මට මෙහෙම දැනෙයි. My heart rate will increase. I will feel nervous. I will look down. මට මිනිස්සු දිහා මගේ දිහා බලන් ඉන්නවා පේනවා. You need to visualize this so your brain gets familiar. අපේ මොළයට පොඩි වෙලාවක් දෙන්න ඕනේ to get used to all these little things that will happen in order to deal with it better. මොකද the other side is that we are going into a situation where we are going to be super nervous, right? Unknown situation. Now, you can't 100% accurately predict it. එහෙම කරන්න බෑ. But what we can do is we can ensure that we predict it at least to some extent, right? So now this step-by-step visualization involves unknown situations. යම් කිසි මොහොතක හිර වෙනවා. You get stuck. Visualize that. You're saying a word and you forget. Visualize. Oh, I'm stuck. What do you feel? You feel nervous, you feel bad, you feel crap, you feel all those things. Then you look at the audience, you feel more nervous. Visualize that. Have that feeling actually happening, right? Then take the collate, look at your cue, and remember what you're supposed to say and continue from there. This visualization is important to reduce nervousness. Okay, so step 1 we talked about grounding, step 2 we talked about cue cards and flow, and step 3 we talked about visualization. Now step 4, like I said, it's about practice. I'll tell you a small story, right? When you were smaller, you see cars going on the road. 2 or 3 years old, you see cars going on the road. You don't know that you can't drive. අපි දන්නේ නැහැ අපර වාහන එලවන්න බෑ කියලා. We don't know. So that's step 1. දන්නේ නැහැ කියලා දන්නේ නැහැ. This is called unconscious incompetence. You don't know that you don't know. By the time you're 8, 9, 10, you see somebody older than you, you're going in a car, kakulen මොකක් හරි කරනවා, අත්වලින් මොකක් හරි කරනවා, they're doing something with their hands and legs, and you realize, holy shit, I don't know this. So now you come to level 2. You get to know what you don't know about. Level 2 again, මම දැනගන්නවා මම දන්නේ නැති දෙයක් තියෙනවා කියලා. Next, when you're 16, 17, 18, you go to a learner's එක නැත්නම් කවුරු ගන්නලා somebody teaches you, and you learn how to drive. This is level 3, where you have to think and do. හිත කරන්න ඕනේ. And at this stage, it's very jerky and jittery, right? You පොඩ්ඩක් ගිහලා gas එනවා, you forget the handbrake and you forget the seat belt, and you're adjusting mirrors and you're very nervous on the road, you're driving slowly. So you'll come to level 3. So level 1, දන්නේ නැහැ කියලා දන්නේ නැහැ. You don't know that you don't know. Level 2, you understand that you don't know certain things. Level 3, you have to think and do. Then you come to the final level, level 4. Level 4, as most of you probably who are driving now know, ඒක නොදැනුවත්වම වෙනවා. It happens without even thinking, right? You've gotten into the car, you've eaten something, you shouldn't be on your phone, but you've done that also, that's very bad, and you've automatically driven. The difference between that level 3, හිත කරන්න ඕනේ, think and do, and level 4, where it's automatically happening, is one thing, and that is practice. Now, there are some people who get their license when they're 20, but they get a car when they're 30. 10 years has gone, their driving skill is still like when they were 20. Then අවුරුදු 10ක් ගිහිල්ලා, if their skill is the same, that's because they didn't have driving practice. Okay? Now, in Sri Lanka, we make a mistake by thinking getting ready for a presentation means making the PPT. මහා ගොන් හිතන විදිහක්. ඒක අපි හිතන්නේ PowerPoint එක කියන්නේ presentation එක කියලා. ඒක ගොන්. PowerPoint is a presentation aid. ඒක ආධාරකයක් විතරයි. Right? ආධාරකයක් විතරයි නම් presentation is you. තමයි මෙතන presentation. තමයි මෙතන show එක. So, in this process, one thing that you need to do is to practice at least 3 or 4 times before you deliver your presentation. Now, when I say practice, it is not about මම මෙහෙම එකක් කියන්නම් කියලා හිතා ගන්න. It's not about thinking about what you are going to say. No. It's about actually getting in front of the bloody mirror or in front of your phone, recording and getting used to the sound of your voice. මගේ කටහඬ මෙහෙමයි. සමහරක් කට්ටිය මෙහෙම හයියෙන් කතා කරලා පුරුදු නෑ ඒගොල්ලන්ට. ඒගොල්ලෝ හිතන්නේ එතනට ගියාම මේ ශබ්ද automatically එයි. It doesn't happen. Some people think that when they go there, it'll automatically come. It doesn't happen. So practice ensures that you're able to deliver that with a sort of smooth flow. Okay. So now practice is the hardest thing for us to do because we don't have time. අපි හිතන් ඉන්නවා right මේක practice කරන්න ඕනේ නෑ. I have made this, I'll look at the slides and I will say it. But trust me, having done presentation skills training over the past 10 years, I understand that we are not going to prioritize it, but that's the most important thing, right? So visualizing is the second most important, the practice is the most important. Now, if we look at these 4 things, the grounding, person or object, the flow, the cue cards, and that rhythm, number 3, the visualization, and number 4, the practice. these things are not going to immediately take away your nervousness. ඒක automatically වෙන්නේ නැහැ. However, these things will contribute to that nervousness of the presentation reducing. Right? These things will contribute to that. And what you need to understand is, like we said about the driving, practice again. It's through that practice that you get to that stage where it will happen just like, butter. It's wrong to look at presentation as a gift, because even the most greatest presenters or hosts or MCs or stage performers that you see today, they've worked on it. They've worked on various aspects of audience engagement. They've worked on stage presence. They've worked on facial expressions. They've worked on body language. They've worked on tone variations in order to present at that level. So that's advanced. We don't have to go there now. We first need to get over that block or that fear. So just to quickly recap on the things that we were talking about, where does fear come from? Number one, from our automatic anxiety. Nervousness, the fear might come, where we go into a sort of battle mode, heavy breathing, panting, all of that, right? That's number one. Number two, it might come from our thoughts, where we start thinking, now this is a performance, I need to convince the audience, instead of thinking, this is a communication, I just need to communicate my idea. Thoughts like, I'm a really bad presenter, the audience is not going to like me, they are going to laugh at me, where everything that's happening, they will see that, okay, this is a thing that's, they're laughing at me or something like that, right? Number three, situations, where you're comfortable in certain situations within your comfort zone, but outside, important topic, you get nervous in those situations. And finally, you get nervous because of skills, where you think, my projection, my voice, my body language, all these things are not enough. Now, all of these things can be addressed. Okay. So first thing that you got to do is, like we said, grounding. And grounding comes from either a person or an object. Okay. But you're only going to focus on that and give your system time to settle down. Number two, get a flow going. Use cue cards like I showed you earlier. This was the cue card I was using. So it only has words, little words, and I look at the word and I know what I'm going to say. Do not do not memorize, because that means you're going to try to remember stuff and then you're just going to get stuck trying to recall, and if you miss one, you miss the entire chain, and then what you're going to do. So don't do that. Only remember the cue words that will prompt you or push you to the next level. Number three is the moment-to-moment visualization, step by step. What's going to happen? How's it going to happen? How's it going to work? What am I going to say? How am I going to react to the audience? Visualize that entire process multiple times. And finally, with this nervousness, you need to start practicing. And practice familiarity, your voice, your movement, your sound. Get used to saying it, get used to saying the words, and then that is going to help you to ensure that you are having a smoother delivery in the real world, right? So I'm going to take some time to try and answer a couple of questions here. If you have any questions, please put them down. So Raveen has said, I have an issue off camera or backstage. I'm killing it. I know everything I want to say, but and what points to say it. But when I press record or get on stage, they all get jumbled up. So then I end up talking slowly like Obama, just so I can organize my thoughts again, but that makes my speech super boring. So Raveen, one thing that you should use, and I know that even when I make videos, I think of the content in my mind and I make it up as I go. But if that problem is happening for you, then that simple cue card system will help, because put a number one, put the point, and then talk about that point. Number two, put the number and talk about the point. So point-to-point cue cards, try that out and see how it works for you, whether it'll make the flow smoother. Because your problem here is it's getting jumbled. Your brain is working faster than your mouth. Okay, so you need to bring both to the same speed, and your cue cards will help that, right? So I end up talking slowly like Obama. Talking like Obama isn't bad, of course. Udayanga, they need great coaches like, of course, brother, of course they do indeed. I think so too. Right. Hufflepuff, yes, own your presentation. Udayanga again. Get to be blinking a lot. Yes, that's something we're working on currently. Rushdi, for me the subject should be comfortable with, yes, but most of the time, if you're comfortable with the subject, that's good. but sometimes we're not lucky enough to have subjects we're comfortable with. But you can get comfortable with it by practice. Rian has said a greeting may now be. Hi Rian, thank you for joining us all the way from India. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask me and I will answer them. All right, here we go. So we have a question. What if someone records themselves while presenting and gets some feedback by professionals like you? Yes, of course, by all means. So I run several presentation skills training programs for corporates. Apart from that, I have a one-on-one presentation skills program. So that runs, those are in packages. You have the 1 month package, 3 month and 6 month package. That's available as well. Of course, apart from that, if anybody has a presentation, just send me a message on Instagram or whatever. I'll give you the feedback that I can, absolutely. Isuru, hey Machan, thanks for joining. I have an issue to adjust when I speak bilingual on TV. Any tips? So, I think with bilingual, you need to figure out where you switch. Then samahara vita, if you listen to that, it can be smooth or it can be like that, right? So it's that transition point අපි හොයාගන්න ඕනේ where that point is. එතකොට ඒක ලේසි because ඒ point එක හොයාගත්තාම we understand how that flow works. Now for me, I believe, I don't know, it comes with reading the audience. Now with some audiences I would go 80% English, 20% Sinhala because I understand that that's the flavor that works for them. Some audiences it's the other way around. හැබැයි ඕන කෙනෙක් එක්ක කතා කරද්දී if you start thinking in both languages, you can't think in Sinhala and translate to English, or you can't think in English and translate to Sinhala. එහෙම කරන්න බෑ. You think in both languages. මම කියන දේ මම සිංහලෙන් කියද්දී මම හිතන්නේ සිංහලෙන්, but when I'm speaking in English, I have switched to thinking in English. That's something that an advanced presenter like you can do. Brian, hi Brian, thanks for joining Matang. How do you interpret eye contact, right? Right, so from eye contact, it's very critical because if you are an advanced level presenter, let me just give you a hint, right? So I try not to look directly into someone's eyes because it can be creepy. Instead, I have this little triangle, right? I learned this from my friend Charita Bandar, this triangle, and I focus somewhere here in that triangle. So it's not very intimidating. And I'm, looking at that person. Brian, in terms of eye contact is an investment, right? So it's like I look at an audience member for about 3 seconds. They're looking back at me for another 10 seconds. Now, while they're doing that, I can look at somebody else. But this 10 seconds is reducing. So you need to split the eye contact with everybody. It's like making up, like you need to keep checking it, right? So eye contact is an investment. Invest about 3 seconds in a person, they're giving you 10 seconds back, and then invest 3 seconds in another person. A technique I use is to paint the room, right? So I'm looking at the room like this, or if there are big crowds, I'm looking at the room like this, right? I'm ensuring, or at least ensuring that it seems like I'm giving them eye contact. It's definitely an investment. It's something that you should do. Even if you're not making eye contact with everybody, ensure that they think that you're making eye contact by roughly looking in their direction. We have UK, the island, Uktisis. My good friend, how many times do you usually practice before a session? Okay, I'll be honest with you. Back in the day, this was about 5-6 years ago, I used to practice like a hell of a lot, man, like about 10 times before I delivered some sort of thing. But now, I don't, because it's part of my profession and it's part of the practice now, like it's driving. I don't need to practice anymore, it just happens. However, I have a small casilla, a small itch that I will, occasionally when driving alone in the car, I will practice various styles, like ladies and gentlemen. Or like ladies and gentlemen, like, yeah, those small things. I will just see what it sounds like, what my feel is like, what the energy is like. So I will do different things like that when I'm by myself, just to get that feel. Instead of thinking I'm going to go and interact like this, what will happen? It won't work. So I visualize a lot. I love visualizing because for me it's like a show, it's like a performance, right? I have my soundtracks I listen to and I get in the zone and all that shit. But that's because I do this as a profession. Krishan J, thank you very much. Rachel, hi Amelia, hi back. Tariq, when I present, the first time I present it well, but then I do it again to train myself. I miss a lot of points from the first time. Tried cue cards but didn't work. How can I tackle this? Okay, so Tariq, you need to see what you're missing and if you're referring the cue cards. Now, I've seen some people who have the cue card but they don't refer the cue card. they go outside the track of the cue card. So they have written point 1, 2, 3. So they look at point 1 and they finish point 1 and they're already talking about point 3 before getting into the cue card, right? You can't do that. You need to go according to the cue card. And if you're missing some things the second time, that means that the flow doesn't have to be the flow that you had the first time, right? It can be the flow you have the second time. So what's important is taking all this content, right? Capturing points that will ensure that it's pushing you to this content, and then going with the delivering that content. So as an example, if the cue cards are not working for you, question what the cue you have put. What's the cue you have put? Is this cue not the cue your brain is processing to get to that point? Like, for example, in this, I have put physiology, thoughts, situations, and skills, right? If I had put different words, my brain is not in tune with picking out that word. So you need to know that you need to get the cue that will cue your brain, not just some random word, right? So I will have a conversation afterwards about it as well. So number one that I want to know is whether you're using the correct cue word, and number two, the flow that you came with the first time or second time, whether you were referring to it, like where you go with the first cue and you're looking at the third one, are you referring to it? How about talking to the camera, especially for social media platforms? So with talking to the camera, it's important to get your personality across and engage, because you're just talking to a camera, right? So I've experimented and failed with this quite a bit, and where some people say that I look really stuck and they can't see my hands, and a lot of my energy is not coming out because my energy comes from moving around when I'm on stage. So now I've figured out a way to bring that energy in, I think, with ensuring my hands are visible, with bringing as much movement as possible, with making my face as expressive as possible. So it's about finding ways to bring your personality into your presentation on video. And that's absolutely critical, because some people are great at talking face to face, but when it goes in front of video, they go into all these things, right? And you need to figure out what your personality is and what are the ways to bring it out. So what I figured out is my hands need to be seen, my face needs to be expressive, and my voice needs to be like I'm talking to a crowd. Earlier I used to make videos on camera like this. So guys, what we're talking about right now, even my colleague got scared, right? So that doesn't work. You need to bring your personality to the video, right? Isuru, don't touch your face. Okay. I sanitize, machan. Rushdie Rizvi, Hoppers really, yes. Hoppers. Real person, so you aren't really looking. I look at people, that's because I think I'm an advanced presenter, I don't know. But I'm saying for a person who is a first-time presenter or a nervous presenter, then you can fake looking at people. You don't have to really look at them. But as you proceed, as you become more comfortable with yourself, then by all means you have to start making eye contact. Remember guys, this entire session is for beginners, for people who are nervous about public speaking. If you're an advanced presenter, the advice is completely different, okay? AJ, my man AJ. How do you handle advances from attractive audience members when you're trying to be a professional? Asking. Well, AJ, my friend AJ from Darwin, he's also an excellent public speaking coach. He talks about innovation, a lot of things. You guys should follow him. He says Black Magic 01. You tell me how you handle advances from attractive audience members. Real person, what are your rates like? Send me a DM and I will send you my portfolio. Yes, Dil Ruksha, Greatest Showman, that's my song. That's one of my songs. Udayanga, please take a small time and introduce your coaching packages. Please, love to know if there are any links or anything. Yes, so coaching packages, like I said, if you can send me a DM, I will give you I will send you the PDF with the rates and stuff like that. Lashan, hi. Johnny, hi. Melissa Stephen, hi. She's having an entire conversation here. Right, great. Tips for body language. Body language is crucial, but as a beginner, I think that you shouldn't focus on it too much, because you need to give your body time to get used to it. The main thing is to get your body engaged. So I recommend standing still at the beginning. Don't think about walking around. Like, you need to walk, but if you're nervous, ground yourself, right? Get your hands in one place. And if you seem like, if it seems like the audience is sort of, you're settling into the audience, then you can increase your body language. Like, you increase your gestures when you talk to someone. You can start moving around. Again, those are not for beginners. like we get lost in this thing, like eye contact. We get lost in this entire thing about engaging with the audience, all of those things. But then we forget that we need to do the basics right. And you can engage with the audience, you can make eye contact, you can do all of those things. But first, you need to be comfortable, right? So, all right. So now the extremely useful comments are coming. Anuk, no, you can't have my T-shirt. Tehani, hello, hello, hello. Judith, thank you for the stars. Excellent. All right, guys. So, Rosilon, thank you so very much. This is my Joker T-shirt. I'm not giving it to anybody. All right, so 3:40. We're done. Time is done. If you have any more questions, if you'd like to know anything else about presentation skills, hit me up. I'll see if I can save this as a story for a little while longer. Thank you so very much for everyone who's joined the IGTV live on presentation skills tips for beginners. I'm not going to do a rap. That's what you're there for, Melissa Stephen. Thank you very much. I'm going to end this now. See ya.